This is why we need a book. This is why we need an absolute standard. This is why.
And who writes the book?
No society has survived this. Societies have historically been here before, and none have survived this. And like I said at the start, I live in a society, and I'd like this society. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but I would like it to survive. And we have seen, there's a book by, what's his name? 1949, Oxford University Press. What is his name? He wrote a book about sex and society. I can't remember the name of it. Maybe that's the title. I'll have to look it up again. And he showed historically that every time a society goes into sexual freedom and degeneracy, this is not the first time it's happened. Not everybody was like a bunch of Puritans back in the past. They've collapsed and fallen apart. And what you described, and it's not a personal jibe, but I'm just going to speak directly. It lacks dignity and honor for the individual. I find this, and please don't take it as an attack, but I find this problematic when a man says, "I don't care if people come by and clap my mother's cheeks."
I don't. She's a grown woman. She could be getting her cheeks clapped right now.
A grown woman. My mom's a grown woman too. But that she would be like basically public property in the same degree or mentality that there's nothing wrong with Bonnie Blue.
What's wrong with Bonnie Blue?
Go. Everything's wrong with her. Everything is wrong with her.
What's wrong with her? I'm asking.
Everything. What individual sleeps with 1,000 people in a single night?
A grown person who wants to sleep with 1,000 people.
That's not even pleasure. That's just doing stuff for the sake of shock factor because they know that it loosens the fabric of society in terms of how they view degeneracy. It serves no other purpose. You can't tell me she enjoyed it.
Well, isn't that her purpose? Well, what if her purpose is to do that to make money?
So her purpose is to cause degeneracy to spread throughout society.
So this is what I'm saying. This goes back to what I was talking about.
We don't see a problem with that.
No, this is what I'm saying. The reason why you think it's a problem, and this goes back to my point earlier, is because people don't think for themselves. So what I'm saying is you're saying that she's going to influence other people to see that and feel some type of way. What I'm saying is if you thought for yourself, you wouldn't care what anybody's doing because you're thinking for yourself and doing the things that's best for you in particular. So what I'm saying is that when people don't think for themselves, they grab on and hold on and look to other things outside of themselves to give them the cosign of what they should do. That's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is that translates also to religion, because religion, all it is it's the thing that tells you how to live without you thinking of how to live for yourself.
What if I just want to live how I want to live? And that means I go rob banks, stab people in the gut, whatever else, because it feels good to me. I mean,
if you want to, you can.
Where's the border? Where's the boundary of what we do for ourselves?
So you're saying that in order to live great,
I just live how I want to live. I don't care what other people think.
So you're saying in order to not harm people, you need religion. Is that what you're saying? You need a structure to tell you how to live?
We do, yes. As humans, we do, absolutely. Because if we don't,
so you can't think for yourself.
Degeneracy, absolutely.
Well, I'm surprised that you even.
That's why we have laws. That's why we have fines. That's why we have jails. Because people have to be told what to do. Because if you don't, they will often go to the lowest common denominator and factor and commit crimes. And they still do it even with laws. It's proof that we have jails, that people need rules. Absolutely. And if they're divine, all the better.
I was going to say, I'm surprised that you even would agree that STDs and fatherless homes are bad. That's because you might. I was after hearing.
No. This is what I'm saying. I don't want anyone to catch STD, and I don't want anyone to have a fatherless situation. What I'm saying though is, this is what I'm saying. What I'm saying though, because the reason why is because most people are not equipped to, one, prevent that to happen, and two, can't deal with it. So what I'm saying is that for example, a lot of times when people are talking about STDs is just used a lot of times as a scare tactic to make people afraid of sex. You understand what I'm saying? So I've had sex with damn near 300 something women in my life. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't have any STDs. I don't have any unwanted pregnancies or any of that type of stuff, right? So what I'm saying is it's possible for that to have sex without those extra things. What I'm saying is those extra things usually occur because people purposely or just are ignorant and they make the decision to have sex unprotected, right? Which can cause STDs and also which can cause unwanted pregnancies. So it's not the act that's the issue. It's the people who are doing the act. Just like, for example, that's like me blaming knives and guns. Well, we shouldn't have knives and guns because it's killing people. No, the person who picked up the gun and shot the person made them die. It's not just the gun itself. So what I'm saying is it's the people behind the situations. So a lot of times what we do is that we look at the actual sex, and just like when they say, oh, well, sex is causing, the divorces. No, it's because that guy married a woman who didn't like him in the first place. That's why their relationship sucks. She doesn't listen to him. That's why their relationship sucks. He's not a leader. That's why the relationship sucks. She only married him for money, and he doesn't have any more money. That's why their relationship sucks. It's not because she had sex with 7 guys in 1994. You know what I'm saying? He's not a leader because she's going to marry another dude, and that dude is going to lead her ass. She's going to listen to everything he says, and they're going to have a great marriage.
But everything you said can be true without like people sleeping with 100 people. Everything you said can be true without all of that.
No, I agree. I'm not saying it can be true. What I'm saying is them doing that or sleeping with those people is not the thing that makes the relationship fucked up. What I'm saying is that we blame the sex because there's an underlying reason we blame the sex. And the underlying reason we blame the sex is because we put sex on a pedestal and we look at it like, well, this girl, she's been with all these dudes and I feel some type of way. I feel some sort of shame, insecurity around sex, which is why I project all that onto the woman. That's all I'm saying.
And to that, I think we could relate to that because, I mean, in that sense, Rob, I mean, we are put in that similar situation where everybody thinks that we're polygynous based off of sex. They put this sex on this pedestal like, oh, these guys are just living off their lustly desires. Again, not knowing the story behind myself, not knowing the story behind Rob, knowing that we were getting far more sex before we came to this biblical truth. So in that sense, Mr. Locario, I definitely can understand where you're coming from. I think that's where the conflict comes into play. Is that at the end of the day, we are speaking to or trying to debate, or I would call it a discussion. We're having a discussion with somebody who is not rooted in the same absolute truth that we have. And that's going to always going to be, the scenario anytime you're trying to debate somebody or have a discussion with somebody who's just not on the same, from the same life lesson plan that we're all on. We're used to debating fellow secular Christians, people who believe in God's word, on is this in fact biblical or not? And we can revert back to quote unquote our absolute truth, which is the text, dissect it, go to the original written languages, what have you. And in this case, we're far more finding ourselves going, okay, is this good? Period. And where we have to revert to is, okay, is this good for society? Is running is a girl going out and sleeping with hundreds and hundreds of men because she wants to, or a man for that matter, good for society? And again, that's why I opened up in my statement saying, well, look at the studies, but even in that, you could sit there and say, yeah, your statistics are all bullshit and whatever. Okay, but the bottom line is that there are proven studies that show that in the long term, this is going to cause more damage than it's going to cause good for both men and women alike. So
JD
by all
Sex and Culture. Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, sorry. The book, JD Unwin, Sex and Culture.
Yep. Female promiscuity always leads to a nation's collapse. 100% of the time.
Really? That's what it says in the book? That female promiscuity?
Yeah. And the guy
I'm curious. Tell me why.
It's a very deep anthropological study. You should just read the book. It's very hard to explain.
The guy wasn't even. Yeah. He wasn't even.
You can't do it in 5 minutes on the show.
And he wasn't even happy to admit it because he was more like on the feminist side. But he had to admit that 100% of the time that a nation fell, it was always preceded by female promiscuity. Maybe because the family breakdown of the family, maybe because a high percentage of the women start getting pregnant and then those kids are raised in fatherless homes. Because at the end of the day, you could say, okay, fatherless homes are bad, but if we're careful, but there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees that you don't get an STD. Yeah, you dodged some bullets, it sounds like. I did too. But it doesn't mean that, Charlie Sheen's got AIDS, right? I mean, he's kind of the punchline. Everybody wanted to be him. You maybe you're too young to remember, but when I was in my 20s and 30s, everybody every man wanted to be Charlie Sheen. And now he's a fucking joke. I mean, he's got AIDS and his life is empty. So like that's where this path ends. It's like, yes, it's fun in the moment. I've done it. Maverick's done it. Sounds like Craig has done it. But at the end of the day, it's fruitless.
So isn't it the men's fault though? That society is going down the drain and not.
I agree. Yes.
not the women being promiscuous.
I do believe it's
because aren't we the ones who are leading? So why are we pointing the finger at the women?
No, I think we're all in agreement there.
You know, so that's what I'm saying. I don't understand how it's the female promiscuity.
It doesn't change the fact that, like, in general, the vast majority of men are not interested in pair bonding with women that have had multiple partners, whether it's the men's fault or not. Most men just don't want that. I said this earlier. It's like guys will complain about there not being low body count women to marry, but then they'll be out sleeping with 200-300 women.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's ridiculous.
It's crazy.
But that's what I'm saying. That's that red pill nonsense where they'll say, well, I want to hook up with all these girls, but I also want women to have low body counts. Now, my thing is this: if guys want women with low body counts, then those same guys shouldn't be having sex. They should be waiting also. You know what I'm saying? If that's like your philosophy, then don't have sex. Don't add to body counts.
I agree. 100%. We actually agree about that.
Right. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I think it's very hypocritical to say you want a woman with low body count and then go out and bang random chicks.
Right, because you're not helping the situation. You're just adding to the problem.
Okay, so we're in agreement there.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's type of schizophrenia. No, I 100% agree with you. It is the men's fault. Men have always demonstrably, unquestionably been the builders, maintainers of societies. And that's always come with restrictions, some freedoms here, and we've tried now, and we are trying again, this absolute freedom. And this absolute freedom doesn't work. Unfortunately, people work best under guidance and structure. This is why we see the most successful companies. They're not these ones where everybody's sitting around. You see these women walk around drinking. I just use women as example. It has nothing to do with women in specific, but drinking these lattes and having lunch. Their whole day of work consists of just eating and drinking nice food. The most successful companies, they do very well because they have a lot, considerable degree of structure to them. And I think societies are no different. When we look at like somewhere like China right now, in comparison to the rest of the West, they don't have all these problems that we have. Why? Because they as much as I disagree with it, they have like social credit scores and all this type of stuff. I don't want all that stuff for myself, but they do that to maintain a high level of discipline and focus, and thus what do we want to call it? Homogeneity and direction as a nation. And you can't have that if everybody's just doing whatever they want, living however they want. We're going to lose one or the other. We can't have it all.
But see, that's the part. That's the part.
And a forward moving one.
Right, but
the Chinese are fucking basic, man. They just introduced a law preventing women from divorcing their husbands and taking the house.
Yep.
They have to
and the thing is,
I
half agree with what you're saying, and the reason why I say half is because I totally agree with you about there should be structure, but I believe the structure should be based on the particular man and how he creates the situation for him and whatever woman or women that he's dealing with. Right. And but the issue is that most people are getting their cues of structure just strictly from society. You understand what I'm saying? Now, again, I understand society is going to have structure in a way of, okay, we got to pay these bills. You got to stop at the red light and all that. Like that makes sense because we're all intermingling with each other. But what I'm saying is that the mentality and the thoughts that people have, right? Most people don't realize they're brainwashed to follow a structure that doesn't necessarily serve them as an individual. You understand what I'm saying? So meaning that people will gravitate to this belief system or, join this group or whatever it is like that because they feel like they need to, or they were pressured into it, or they were conditioned into thinking this is best for them. What I'm saying is that when people start thinking for themselves, they can follow structures that serve them. So if I have a structure as a man, I say, this is the way I create my particular thing. And then I meet women. The women that I meet can either say yay or nay to coming into my structure. If they say no, that means that my structure they feel it wouldn't serve them. If they say yes, it does, right? So now what happens is she's listening to me, but I'm also listening to me because I'm critically thinking about how I want to create the structure. What I'm saying is that a lot of these things that we talk about, especially on the internet, and it's like being, pushed around, is that people start to take everybody else's structure that they hear and make it their own instead of making their own structure their own structure. You see what I'm saying? And that's the issue I have with it. So this is where all these thoughts of, when people even talk about statistics, I'm like, why would you even worry about a statistic when you're an individual? I don't care about the statistics. I'm not those guys. I'm me. I'm going to do what I need to do to get what I want.
But I know from the opposite side of the coin, and believe it or not, Muslims say this, but from the other side, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. So I had, you know, I was living a life. I had multiple female partners before I was a Muslim, before I was like, you know, even thinking about the religion. I was living a life, man. As crazy as this statement might sound to people who don't know, but I'm a black guy in Germany. Do you know how exotic you are here? You are hot. You're wanted here. Okay, this is a place to be as a black man, Germany. To this day, as far right as the West is going, it's a good place to be. So I was at the peak of this when nobody really cared about race or whatever else. When I became Muslim, people said, now I was living how I wanted to. It was fun. It was great, you know, smashing all the beautiful blonde girls and all this type of stuff. You know, I was making good money. But there came a point where I was like, you know what? This is cool. And I didn't think I was missing anything. I was just enjoying it, like you yourself were. But when I found Islam, I became a Muslim and I just believed it. I was like, you know, I found a religion. I was like, wow, this is amazing. You know, this makes sense. It fulfills both the scientific and the logical. It fulfills the spiritual. And I became a Muslim. And you know what the Muslims started saying to me when I married multiple women? They said some of the dumbest stuff. They said, because this is the opposite of what you're saying. They said, you became a Muslim so you could marry 4 women. And I was like, dude, before I was Muslim, I had 7 women. I didn't have, in Islam, I have to take care of them. I have to pay 4 women's bills if I marry 4 women. I have to split my time equally with these women. It's not, I have to do a marriage. I have to talk to her parents. I got to pay a dowry. Why would I accept Islam to do all that? You know, it does. So I understand what you're saying, but from the opposite side, it was so much easier when I wasn't Muslim. I could just go out and just, hey, you know what? I won't see you tomorrow. You know, I'm not gonna what pay for your taxi? What are you crazy? You want this meat? Come get it. Uber is, you know, we didn't have Uber back then, but you know what I'm saying? So I understand what you're saying, but from the opposite perspective, you know. So